Hello, hi everyone, and welcome to today's live stream where today we are going to be looking at paper 2 for the non-calculator GCSE. So I'm just going to do my sound check to check that everything's all working. And let's see. Hello. And it is. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Right, well, thank you very much for joining me on this past paper walkthrough today. So I've got here the level 2, well not the level 2, this is a GCSE paper. So again, as I mentioned, functional skills and GCSE maths have a massive overlap. And so what I'm doing at the moment is, because it's the GCSE season, I'm just going through some GCSE past papers in these live lessons so that you can kind of have a look and have a go. In the description, I've put a link to any topic that I've covered that relates to the past paper. So if that question you find particularly difficult, you can jump into the description and there will be a link to a lesson on that where you can get more practice on the things that you need to learn. Okay, so let's get started on this past paper. So here we go, we've got question 1 here, and it says, write down 2 factors of 18. Okay, so factors mean the numbers that multiply together to make 18. So with 18 we have 1 and 18, because 1 times 18 makes 18. We've got 2 and 9. We've got 3 and 6. And that's it all. So sorry, 1 second. So that's everything for those. So we can pick any 2 of these. It doesn't actually have to be a matching pair. So I could go for 18 and 6. Okay, so I might write those down there. 18 and 6. The exam paper's given us the comma, so I can use that. Okay, next question, question 2. Write down 0.9 as a fraction. So, as I always like to do this, every number is a fraction out of 1. So this is like 0.9 out of 1. And then if we multiply both of these by 10, that becomes 9 over 10. So as a fraction, it is 9 over 10. Now, I just remembered, this is actually the calculator paper. So you should, I've got the calculator that I use on screen, but my main bit of advice to you for a question like this is, if you have a decent scientific calculator, this will actually answer question 2 for you. So I could just type into my calculator 0.9, press the equals button, and then it automatically turns it into a fraction. So that is something that you really need to make sure you've got. If you don't have a good calculator, make sure you get a nice scientific calculator. The Casio Class Whiz is the kind of one that really does everything that you need. Okay, so let's continue. Convert 7 metres into centimetres. So 1 metre equals 100 centimetres. So 7 metres is 7 lots of 1 metre. Okay, so 7 lots of 100 centimetres times 7 will be 700 centimetres. So I'm going to put that here. 700 centimetres. Okay, next question. Write down a square number that is between 10 and 50. Okay, so square numbers are the numbers that are results of multiplying something by itself. So we've got 1 squared equals 1, 2 squared equals 2. No, it equals 4. 3 squared equals 9. Okay, because these are coming from 2 times 2, 3 times 3. 4 squared equals 16. Okay, so here we go. We've got our first one that is between 10 and 50. And remember, I got 4 squared. I got this by doing 4 times 4. Squared means to multiply a number by itself. Right, next one. 50% of 240. Okay, so in order to get 50% of 240, well, we start off, we know that 100% equals 240. Now, in order to go down to 50%, we can just half this. If we divide this by 2, we get to 50%. So if we divide this by 2 as well, we get 120. So 50% of 240 is 120. Okay, next page. Right, here we go. Lydia works for 4 hours. She is paid £50. How much is Lydia paid per hour? Okay, so we know that 4 hours equals £50. So this is direct proportion. We want to know how much she's paid for 1 hour. So we need to go down to 1 hour. Okay, so we're going to divide this by 4, and we'll divide this by 4 as well. Okay, so again, I've got my calculator, so I'm going to bring that up, and I can just use my calculator for this. So here we go, I'll put that there. So we've got 50 divided by 4. Remember, with the order that you do these in, it's what you're dividing by that goes second. So 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. So I'll put that there as £12.50. Okay, great. Let me move that off screen. Question 7. Here is a 3D shape. Write down the name of this 3D shape. Okay, so it's got a circle at the bottom and a point at the top. This is a cone. If you think about an ice cream cone, that is what this is. It's just turned upside down. If it was a circle at the bottom and a circle at the top, that would have been a cylinder. Okay, but this one is a cone. In the space below, draw a sketch of a triangular prism. Okay, so a prism, the word prism means a 3D object that is the same shape all the way through. So they want a triangular prism. So they want a triangle at the front, and they want this triangle all the way through. Okay, so I'm going to then try and replicate this triangle at the back here, and then I can just join the points up together to get my triangular prism. And there we go. That should sort of look like a Toblerone. Okay, right, next questions. Okay, here we go. Question 8. We've got quite a bit of information here. So it says, Curtis needs to buy some items for his sports club. Here are the prices. So he says footballs, £9.50 each. Hockey sticks, £30 for 2. Cricket balls, cricket bats even, £23 each. And tennis balls, £5 for 4. Okay, so now we've got the things that he needs. He wants to buy 5 footballs, 6 hockey sticks, 2 cricket bats and 4 tennis balls. Curtis has £200 to spend. Show that Curtis can buy all the items he needs. Right, so this is just a big old question of direct proportion, really. So we know how much one thing costs, and then we need to work out how much multiples of those costs. So let's do the footballs first. So the football first is, we know that 1 football equals £9.50. Okay, so then we need 5. Okay, so we're doing that, we're timesing by 5, we're timesing by 5. Okay, so 5 times 9.50, I'll do it here just so you can see. 5 times 9.50 equals £47.50. There we go. Next one, we've got hockey sticks, £30 for 2. Okay, right, so we now know for the hockey sticks, we've got 2 equals £30. Okay, so if we know that 2 equals £30, we need to get to 6. So I know that I've done that times 3. So I'm getting 3 lots of the 2 hockey sticks. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6. 30 times 3, let's just do that on the calculator. 30 times 3 is going to be £90. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to write my little collection of numbers that we're going to have to add up together here. Actually, I'll just put it down here. So we know that this now is £47.50. We know that these ones are £90. Okay. Then we've got 2 cricket bats. So 1 cricket bat, 1 bat equals £23. So 2 bats will equal twice that. Okay, so let me just pull this up. So 2 times 23. Oh. And that's 46. Okay, so I'm going to write here £46. And then 4 tennis balls. Okay, we can see, okay, fine. 4 tennis balls are 5 for £4. So 4 tennis balls equals £5. So this costs £5. Now, we want to see if Curtis can afford all of this stuff. So we then just need to add these prices together. So we've got £47.50, add 90, add 46, add 5. And we can do that all on the calculator and find out what that equals. So here we go, we've got 4750. Add 90. Add 46. Add 5. Let's see what that's given us. There we go. So we can see that he can buy all of that for £188.50. Okay, wonderful. Right, let's move on to the next question. Right, here we go, question 9. So it says here, Harris is buying a shirt and a tie. He has a choice of 3 colours of shirt and a choice of 3 styles of tie. Okay, Harris is going to choose 1 shirt and 1 tie, list all the possible combinations he can make. So I like to do this in a bit of order. I'm going to start with the white shirt. So we've got white, and then we've got the plain, or we've got the white, and then we've got the striped, or we've got the white, and then we've got the checked. Okay, so these are all the combinations he can have when he has the white shirt. Next, we've got the blue shirt, so we can have blue with the plain tie, blue with the stripes, and blue with the checked. Okay, now we've got the grey tie, and again, we've got grey with the plain, we've got grey with the striped, and we've got grey with the checked. Okay, right, so that's all the combinations there. So there's 9 combinations that he could have. Okay, question 10. There are 24 counters, and there are 24 red counters and 40 blue counters in a bag. Write down the ratio of the number of red counters to the number of blue counters in the bag. Give your ratio in its simplest form. So this is going to be 24 to 40. Okay. They wanted it red, just double checking here. They definitely wanted it red to blue. So we've got here red to blue is 24 to 40. So let me just do that again. So we've got red to blue. So we've got 24 to 40. Okay, and then we can simplify this down. So these are both divisible by 2. So this can be 12 to 20. Both divisible by 2 again. Remember, you've got your calculator for this if you need to. So you could do 6 to 10. Both divisible by 2 again. And this becomes 3 to 5. And there we go. We can't simplify those anymore. So I'm going to write down 3 to 5 as my ratio in its simplest form. Right, question 11. So here we go. It says, Rima is going to roll a fair 6-sided dice. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on number 3. Okay, right, so there's 6 outcomes. One of them is going to be the 3. So it's less likely that it's more likely that it's going to land on another number because only one of the numbers is 3. So I would say that if I had to, but it could happen. So I'm going to say that this is unlikely. So I'll write that down there. Unlikely. Right. Now which says, choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on an odd number. Okay, so on the dice there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the odd numbers are the numbers that end in 1, 3 and 5. Well, and 7, 8 and 9. No, not 7, 8 and 9. 7 and 9. So we've got, out of these ones, there's 3 odd numbers. So there's 1, 3 and 5. So there's 3 odd, 3 even. So it's going to be even chance because half the numbers are odd. Right, question 12. A car travels at an average speed of 37 miles per hour for 3 hours. Work out the distance the car travels in 3 hours. Right, so 37 miles per hour means that in 1 hour we travel 37 miles. So this is what 37 miles per hour means. 1 hour equals 37 miles. So how many hours are we travelling for? We're travelling for 3 hours. So again, this is direct proportion. So if every hour we're travelling 37 miles and we're doing this for 3 hours, we're just timesing this by 3. So we're repeating that hour 3 times and we're repeating that 37 miles 3 times. So what we want is 37 times 3. So let me just bring this here. So I've got 37 times 3, and that equals 111 miles. Okay, there we go. Let me clear that away, and let's get on to the next question. Question 13. Milo is trying to find the area of this rectangle. Okay, he writes the area is 400 centimetres squared because 5 times 4 times 5 times 4 equals 400. Explain what is wrong with Milo's method. Okay, so the area of a rectangle equals length times width. Okay, because essentially the area of the rectangle is helping us find out how many squares there are in the rectangle. So with this one, if we drew this up, we'd see, if we divide that way, we can see we've got 4 centimetres in this direction, and then we've got 5 centimetres in this direction. So the area of the shape is referring to how many of these squares we've got in. So the way that we do it is it's length times width, because we've basically got 5 lots of 4 squares. Okay, what Milo has done wrong is he has just multiplied everything together. So Milo has multiplied all the sides together when he only needed to do length times width. It's likely he got confused with the formula of the perimeter, where you do add all the sides together. Okay, that's my suspicion of what's gone wrong with Milo's question. Anya works out the area of the shape. Her answer is 86 centimetres. Oh, this is a different shape. Anya works out the area of a shape, so it's not the same shape. Her answer is 86 centimetres. Explain why her answer cannot be fully correct. Her answer cannot be fully correct because it needs to be 86 centimetres squared. Because we always measure areas in squares, because area is quantifying how big a space is. So we need a 2D shape that we can count to tell us the size of the area. Okay, so we do measure area in squares. So if it's a shape that's its length is centimetres, the area is centimetres squared. So here we go. So explain why her answer is fully not correct, because it needs to be 86 centimetres squared, because areas, areas are measured in squares. Okay, right, let's have a look at question 14. So here we go, we've got question 14 here. It says that 3 kilograms of flour costs £4 and 5 pence. 5 kilograms of flour and 6 kilograms of sugar costs £11 and 85 pence. Work out the cost of 2 kilograms of flour and 5 kilograms of sugar. So again, this is another direct proportion question. And what we need to do is we can just write the first bit out and we can work out how much 1 kilogram of flour costs. So if we know that 3 kg of flour equals £4 and 5p, I need to know what 1 kg of flour is, okay? So remember, each kg of flour weighs the same. So I'm just going to divide this by 3, and I'm going to divide this by 3 as well. So let me get out the calculator, and we can do that calculation there. So here we go. 4.05 divided by 3 equals £1.35. So now we know that £1.35, 1 kilogram of flour costs £1.35. So let's now look at how much this 5 kilograms of flour costs. Okay, so we can just simply multiply our 1 kilogram of flour by 5. Okay, and that's going to tell me, let's see, 1.35, let's multiply this by 5, equals £6.25. Okay, right, so let me move that calculator there, because now we need to do some, oh no, what's happened? Has anything gone wrong? No. Okay, that's fine, I think. Okay, right, so, where's my calculator? There it is. Here we go. I grabbed the wrong thing. Sorry. Right, so what we've got here is 5 kilograms of flour equals £6.25. So I need to dwell on this question here now, this bit here. If 5 kilograms of flour and 6 kilograms of sugar cost £5.25, that means that £6.25 plus the sugar equals £11.85. Okay, so in order to work out what the sugar is, I need to reverse this calculation. So if two things add together to give one thing, that means that the thing that they add together to, the sum, take away one of the other two gives us the other one. So in order to reverse this calculation, I know that £11.85 take away £6.25 will equal the cost of the sugar. Now again, this is a calculator paper, so I'm just going to get my calculator. There's no point suffering with this. £11.85 take away the £6.25 equals £5.60. So the sugar costs £5.60. Okay, now that is 6 kilograms of sugar. Okay, so let me just move some of this information away. So if I'm just going to shrink this and put this up here. Right, so I'm just going to put what we know actually. So we know that 1 kg flour equals 135, and we now know that 6 kg of sugar equals £5.60. So what we now need to do is we need to find out how much 1 kg of sugar is. So if I divide this by 6 and I divide this by 6, I'll get to 1 kg. Okay, let me get out the calculator. Here we go. So £5.60 divided by 6. Whew, it's a funny number. Okay, so 1 kg of sugar is going to be 0.933 pence. Okay, I'll just leave a few of those there. Now we want so that's good. So now we've got 1 kg of sugar and 1 kg of flour. So what we want in our final costing is we want 2 kilograms of flour and 2 kilograms and 5 kilograms of sugar. So let me first do my 5 kilograms of sugar because I've got this written down. So if I've got 1 kg is this, 5 kg will be this multiplied by 5. So I'll multiply this by 5 as well. So let me just times this by 5. And that equals 4.66666. Okay, I'm going to call that £4.67. £4.67. Okay, so this is our cost for our 5 kg of sugar. And now we need to do our 2 kg of flour. So let me do that over here. Well, one sec, I'll do it directly under the flour bit. So here we go, 1 kg of flour equals £1.35. So if I times that by 2, I'm going to get 2 kg of flour. So here we go. So that equals £2.70. And now I can add these two together. So the 2 kg of flour, the £2.70, add the £4.67, and this will give us, well, I was going to add it with the column method, but I might as well use the calculator. And here we go. So the total for this will be £7.37. Right, and that's the answer to that question. Okay, right. Let's look at the next question. Oh. Right. Martha and Nabil share £120. Martha gets 72% of the money. She spends 30% of the money she gets. How much money does Martha have left? Okay, right. So for this question, I am going to use the percentage equivalent decimal multiply method for finding out the percentage. So if you want to find 72% of something, what we can do is we can turn 72% into its decimal equivalent. And with the way that we do that is we do 72 divide 100, and then that will equal 0.72. Now, anything that we multiply by 0.72 is going to give us 72%. So if I want to find out here 72% of 120, I can just type into my calculator 120 times 0.72. Okay, so let's do that. 120 multiplied by 0.72. Okay, and this gives me 86.4. Okay, so there we go. So that is £86.40. So that is how much money Martha gets. She then spends 30% of the money that she gets on, well, she just spends it. Okay, so we can do the same principle here. So if we want to find 30%, we do 30 divided by 100, which equals, well, 1 second, let me move this. We do 30 divided by 100, which equals 0.3. Now, any number I multiply by 0.3 will give me 30% of that number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 0.3 times £86.40. Okay, and see what that gives me. So let's have a go. So 0.3 times £86.40. And that equals £25.92. So there we go. I'll put that in the answer place there. Right, okay. Let's have a look at the next question. Was there anything else on this page? This feels like it was a one question page. Okay. Oh no, I went too far. Right, okay. Next question here. Let me move the calculator off the screen. 160 people were asked to choose their favourite type of book. They can each choose from romance, adventure, horror or thriller. 85 of these people were children. The rest were adults. 19 of 33 people who chose romance were children. 34 of the 76 people who chose adventure were adults. 7 adults chose thriller. The total number of children who chose thriller was the same as the number who chose adults. Work out the total number of people who chose horror. Okay, they haven't given it to us, but this is basically a two-way table. Okay, so we've got two key identifying factors here. We've got adults and children, and then we've got what film they liked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a table like this. Okay, and so we've got adults, children, total, and then we've got romance, we've got adventure, we've got horror, we've got thriller, and then we've got the totals again. Okay. Right, so let me change the colour for filling this in. So the total of everyone is what goes in this corner here. It's the total, which is 160 people. Okay. 85 of these people were children, so that means that up here goes 85. Now, if 85 of them were children, that means that, and there's 160 in total, that means that the number of adults plus the children equals 160. So we know that adults plus 85 equals 160. So we can just reverse this and do 160, take away 85, and that will give us the adults. Okay, and let me just do that on the calculator. So here we go, we've got 160, take away 85, and that equals 75. Okay, so we know that there's 75 adults there. Right, now, let me just move that. What have we got next? 19 of the 33 people who chose romance were children, okay? So romance, we know that there's 33 people that chose it, because that's what it says. 19 were children. And again, we've got the similar situation here. So we know that the adults, add the 19 equals 33. So in order to find out the adults, we do 33 take away 19. Okay, so let me get my calculator back. So we've got 33 take away 19. And that equals 14. Right. 34 of the 76 people who chose adventure were adults. Okay, so I can fill this in now. So we've got 76 people here. 34 were adults. And now again, as before, we've just got to work out what goes here. So we're going to just do 76 take away 34. 76 take away 34. And this equals 42. Right, 7 adults chose thriller. 7 adults chose thriller. Okay. And then the number of children who chose thriller, the number of children who chose thriller was the same as the number of adults who chose horror. Okay, right. So the rest of this stuff we've actually now just got to work out. Okay. So we know that the adults that chose horror was the same as the children that chose thriller. So we know that they're going to be the same. And then, yeah, we just need to get everything together. So what I'm going to do is I can see on this line here, on this row where it's of adults, that 14 plus 34 plus this mystery number plus 7 has to equal 75 because there's 75 adults altogether. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to just add up those numbers, okay? So what I can do here is in order to work out horror, okay, I know that 14 plus 34 plus 7 plus horror equals 75. Okay, so therefore 75 take away all of this will equal horror. So let me find out what all of this is. So we've got 14, add 34, add 7. So that's 55. So 75 take away 55 will equal the horror. 75 take away 55 is 20. So that means 20 goes here and 20 goes there. Now I can see that if 20 goes there, then this is the total of that. So that would be 27. Now I think I've just answered the question because the question said, hello, how are you? Right, I don't know. Sorry, I was just trying to reply to someone in the chat, but I don't know how to. Right, hello, anyway, thank you for commenting. So 75 take away 25 is 20. So I have just answered the question here, and it says here that the number of children who work out the total number of people who chose horror. We've worked out the total number of people that chose horror. Oh, why is the total 75? Ah, right. Okay, the total for the adults is 75 because here, in the first part of the question, we're told that the total altogether is 160, okay? And we're told that 85 of the people were children. So therefore, if there's 160 people altogether, and 85 of them are children, then the rest have to be adults. And so we get this calculation here, where we've got the adults plus the 85 equals the 160. Okay? So when we have that, we can then rearrange that, because if you've got two things that are combining to make a total, then it must be that if you remove one of those from the total, you get the other thing. So that's why we've been able to do 160 take away 85 up here. And that is what gives us the 75. So that's why the total there was 75. I hope that's clear. If you need more work on two-way tables, I've put a link into well, I don't know if I actually did, but I think I've got a link in the description for a lesson I've got on two-way tables anyway. But yes, right. I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, so here we go. Right, question 17 is, here are heights in centimetres of 16 sunflowers. No worries, thank you. Here are heights in centimetres of 16 sunflowers. Show this information in a stem and leaf diagram. Okay, so we've got the stem and leaf. Right. So here is the layout for the stem and leaf diagram. So the stem and leaf diagram splits all of the numbers into basically the thing that they've kind of got in common and the thing that is a bit different. So if you see here, it's the unit is the thing that always changes, okay? So in all of these numbers, this unit is the thing that's changing more than the others. So, damn it. So what we're going to do, in the stem and leaf diagram, we are going to write down, break up our numbers, okay? So the way that we're going to do it is, the lowest number, I think here, is 162. And the highest number that's here is 197. So what I'm going to do in my stem and leaf, I'm going to put here 16. I'm going to put here 17. I'm going to put here 18. And I'm going to put 19 here. Now, in my key, I'm going to use the 162. And I'm going to say 16. And then I'm going to draw a line that represents this line here. Okay? So if I've got 16 here, I'm going to put a line there, and that I'm then going to put the digit. So 16/2, this means 162. Okay, that's how the stem and leaf diagram works. So it's all based around this key. So now what we have to do is we have to try and put our numbers in the stem and leaf diagram, but the main thing is we have to put them in order. So, let's get started with ordering them. Now, I mistakenly thought that 162 was the smallest number. Actually, I can see that it is the 160. So first of all, I'm going to put a 0 here for 160. Then, now I think the 162 is the next smallest. So I'm going to put a 2 here for that. Then, I can see a 168 here. So I'm going to put that there. I think that's the next one. Then we've got... I always go wrong with these. Right. Then we've got a 70 here. We've got a 73, a 72, a 72. So we've got two 72. So I'll put 2, 2. And then we've got a 73. Then we've got a 77. And then we've got a 78. Okay. Right. Next one we've got is... we have got two 180s. So 180, 180. And then we've got 183. We've got 184. We've got 191. Oh, no. 186. 186. 188. And then on the bottom one, we've got 191 and 197. Okay, so this is the stem and leaf diagram. That's how it works. You've always got to start with the smallest number here and the largest number here. So they go from small to large. And then you always have just the units in the leaf bit. Okay, so this is the stem. And these bits are the leaves. So these are the leaves. If I do them in green, it looks quite leafy. Okay, now you also need to be able to read back off the stem and leaf diagram. So what it is a useful practice to do is to think about one of these numbers and think about what it is. So say, for example, if I'm looking at this 6 here, that 6 is not a 6, it's actually 186. Okay, so pick another one. This 7 here, that's not a 7, that is in fact 177. Okay, right, let's move on. Okay, question 18. Work out 9.8 plus 6.8 divided by 4.2 times 2.1. Give your answer as a decimal. Okay, so this type of question is one that's very much helped by having a really good scientific calculator again. I'm just going to turn to the scientific calculator here. Oh my gosh, that's massive. Right. Where? Okay, let me put it here. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to type this in if you don't have a great calculator. So the first things that we've got to do is the top of this fraction has to happen first. So I'm just going to put a bracket around this and type this in. So we've got 9.8 plus 6.8. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to close brackets. That is the top of this fraction. Now I'm going to put divide because that line does mean divide. And then I'm going to use brackets again to collect the information on the bottom. So we've got 4.2 times 2.1. Okay, and here we go. If I press equals, this will give me the right answer. So now what I've got is I've got this number. So I'll just write this whole thing down for the time being. And you should do that because that will give you a mark if you go wrong with your rounding. Okay. Oh, and actually, no, you've got to do that anyway because that's actually what the question is asking. The question says, write down all the figures on your calculator display. Okay, so there we go. Let me get rid of the calculator. And there we go. I can just write all that down there. 882081. Now for part 2, it says, round it to 2 decimal places. So 2 decimal places is if I write this out again. 0861. 2 decimal places means so that there's 2 decimals after the number. So we're basically going to want this. Now, sometimes when you're rounding to 2 decimal places, you have to round this number up. So rounding this to 2 decimal places would either mean 1.88 or 1.89. But because this number here, 2, is smaller than 5, we round down, so we just pretend it doesn't exist. Smaller than 5, so ignore. So because it's smaller than 5, we ignore it. So this number to 2 decimal places is just 1.88. Okay, right. Question 19. So here we go. The diagram shows a quadrilateral ABDE and an equilateral triangle BCD. CB is parallel to DE. CB is parallel to DE. Okay, right, that's these 2 lines here. Ah, damn it. Right, 1 second, let me try that again. Well, let me just do a little bit of it. That line and this line are parallel. Okay, we can see that by these little arrows that they've given. And then angle AED is 132 degrees. Work out the size of the angle marked X. Okay, oh, right, okay, yeah. Work out the size of the angle marked X. Right. Okay. So, first things first, this is an equilateral triangle. So, if all the angles inside a triangle add up to 180, okay? So, angles in a triangle equal 180. Then, if all the angles in the equilateral triangle are the same, we can just divide this by 3. And that equals 60. And that tells us the size of every angle in the equilateral triangle. So that's 60 degrees, that's 60 degrees, and this is 60 degrees. Okay, so therefore we've got some information there. Right, now what we need to do is the other angle that we're actually able to work out is we are able to work out this angle here. Now that is because this is what is known as, let me get my red pen, this is what's known as a Z angle, okay? Because these two lines are parallel. So this angle here is going to be exactly the same as that angle there. I don't know if you might have seen these. The diagram here is quite difficult to work out, but usually when we've looked at them in class, they look like, they're not very good parallel lines, but they look like this, okay? So we look like this angle here. If these lines are parallel, the angles in the crevices of here are always the same. So if this is, say, 60 degrees, this one's 60 degrees as well, okay? The other angles that would be the same, that one would be 60 as well, this one would be 60 as well, and then this angle here would be 120 because they're on a straight line. But anyway, the information that we need is that this is the Z angle situation that's going on, just like you'd see here. So this angle is 60 degrees as well. Okay, now we've got that information. We have got our quadrilateral, and we've got the four angles inside of it. So we know that angles in a quadrilateral equal 360 degrees. Okay, so this box here signifies a right angle, so that's 90 degrees. So we know that x plus 132 plus 60 plus 90 will equal 360 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to simplify this first. I'm going to do x, and then I'm going to combine all of these into a different thing. So let me do that on my calculator. Here we go. Where's the calculator gone? Oh, here it is. I forgot it's massive. Right, let me shrink it back to the normal one. Okay, so what have I done? So if I now, sorry, it is this streaming software. I keep on grabbing different things. So if I do 132, add 60, add 90, and I get what this equals. So this equals 282. I know that x plus 282 will equal 360. Now remember, if two things add together to make a third thing, then I can find out the missing thing by taking one of the things away from each other. So x combined with 282 makes 360. So 360 taking away the 282 will equal that missing value x. So let me get out the calculator and do that. So 360 take away 282, and that will equal 78 degrees. And there we've got our answer. And that looks about right because, I mean, the diagram isn't to scale, but it does look about right because that's less than 90 because you can see it's an acute angle. So I can put that down here. So 78 degrees. Right. Oh no, a graph. Right, actually they're okay. We just need to, they're just difficult to put on the screen. Okay, so the first part of this question is to complete the table of values for y equals x squared minus x minus 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the scientific calculator out again for this one because I want to show you how you can simply just type these things into your calculator without really having to think about it too much. So let's do -1 first. So what I'm going to do is if I go to AC, okay, so whenever you're substituting things into your calculator, you should put them inside brackets, okay, because that solves any problem with negatives. Okay, so I'm going to put the bracket here, and then I'm going to put in 1, then I'm going to make it negative. Oh, that's nice, it does it automatically. Okay, 1 second, let me clear this. I don't want too many brackets all over the shop. So 1, make it negative, and then I want to square it. So there we go. So this is what it should look like on your calculator as well. So -1 in brackets squared, minus 1, make it negative. Ah, that's cool. Okay, I don't know if your calculator is going to do that. But it was -1, so it made it +1. But that's not very helpful. Minus bracket, I'm going to put it like this, -1, because I think this is more helpful to you guys. So we've got -1 squared minus -1 and then -2. Okay. So here we go, that equals 0. So I'll just put a 0 up here. So when x is -1, y is 0. Now let's try putting the 0 into the formula. So we've got 0 squared, okay, -0, -2. Okay, here we go. And that equals -2. And then we need to put 2 in. Remember, you only need to use the brackets when you're substituting in negative numbers. Otherwise, it's fine. So here we go. 2 squared -2 -2. Okay. And that equals 0 again. And, I've put that in the wrong place. 1 second. So that equals 0 again here. And now let's try 3. So 3 squared -3 -2. And that equals 4. Okay, and there we go. So we've got the whole collection there. So let me do that and put that away. So here we go. We've got 0, -2, -2, 0, 4. And actually, you'll notice that there's a pattern here that repeats itself. It goes from 4, 0, -2, -2, 0, 4. And that is a classic with any equation that is of this form where it's got an x squared at the start. Okay, so the next step is they want us to plot these on the grid. Okay, so let's go and plot these. Let me change my pen to red so it stands out a bit more. So here we go. The first one we've got to plot at x is -2, y is 4. So go to x is -2, y is 4 over here. The next one we've got to plot is x is -1 and y is 0. So that's here. The next one we've got x is 0. That's on this axis. Y is -2. Then we've got 1 -2, 2 0, and 2 4. 3 4 even. Okay, right. So now what we can do is we've got to join these together. Now, you mustn't join these with a ruler, okay? You will lose a mark if you join these with a ruler. You've got to join them with a straight line. Well, not with with a curvy line, like this. Okay, I missed my point there, so let's have another go. Let's try once more. There we go. And so that's what your graph should look like. This is actually called a parabola. A parabola, if anyone wanted to know. Okay, so there we go, and that will get you all the 2 marks for that. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so here we go. We've got a question here, and it looks like this shape has been, what has it been? It's been reflected. Okay, so it says, describe fully the transformation that maps A to B. Okay, so this one has been reflected over the line y equals x. Okay, it's pretty difficult to see, but in fact, could I? It's easier to see if, I'll do this actually, it's easier to see if you're able to look at it diagonally, but this is a reflection. So 1 second, let me just draw these, and I'll swivel the whole thing round, and then you'll see how it's a reflection. Easier if I swivel this round. So 1 second, here we go. Oh no, that won't help. If I swivel this around here. Okay, that has done nothing. 1 second, let me try once more. There you go. When you kind of put it more at a thing, you can kind of see how more it's a reflection. When it's always over the diagonal, it's a little bit trickier to see. But so that is a reflection, and the name of this line that it's been reflected over, this is the line of y equals -x. Okay, it's a worthwhile line to know, but the way it's calculated is if, let's look at it here. Let's say, for example, x is 1. If x equals 1, well, what's y? Y equals minus 1. Okay, so y equals minus x. Let's have a look at this one here. X is 2. What's y? Negative 2. So when x is 2, y is negative 2. So y equals minus x. So that is the name of this line that we have. Okay, so to describe this transformation fully, I would call it reflection over the line y equals negative x. Okay, and that's what you'd need to put to get both of those marks. Right. Ooh, algebra time. Right, okay, so let's have a look at this question here, 22. And it says expand and simplify 3 bracket 2y minus 5 plus 7 bracket y plus 2. So this means that we've got 3 lots of everything that is in this bracket, okay? So we've got this 2y 3 times. So we could think about that as 2y plus 2y plus 2y, which equals 6y. We've got this minus 5 3 times, okay, which would be minus 5 and minus 5 and minus 5. But there's actually a better way of doing it, which is simply to think about, we're just multiplying the contents of the bracket by the number that's in front. So here, we first of all got 3 times 2y. So 3 times 2y gives us 6y. And then we've got 3 times negative 5. Now, if you get confused with your negatives, remember this is the calculator paper. So you can always just type them in like this. Here we go. 3 times negative 5. So remember, if you put your brackets around your negative number, it will do what it's meant to do. So 3 times negative 5, and that's negative 15. So I'll put that there. And then the next one, we've got 7 times y. Now remember, when you see a letter by itself, it just means 1y. So this is like 7 times 1y. So this will be 7y. And then next we've got 7 times 2 from here to here, which will be 14. Now what we can do is we can add the y parts. So the y parts will just be the 6 add the 7. Okay, and so that's going to give us 13y. And then we can add the other parts as well. And remember, if you get confused by negatives, just make sure you put your negative in the brackets and then add it to the other bit. There we go. So negative 15 add 14 is negative 1. So there we go. And that will be our solution there. So we've got 13y minus 1. Okay, right. Let's have a look at part B. Okay, I actually just need to go grab a drink of water. I'll be back very quickly. It's not far. Sorry about that. Right, okay, so next bit here we've got factorise fully. Okay, so this means to take the things back out of the bracket. So I see that I can divide, I've got here a 6 here and a 15 here. So what I've got to do is I've got to think about the factors of 6 and 15. Well, I know that both of these numbers can be divided by 3. So 3 is going to be something I can take out as a factor. 6 equals 2 times 3. And 15 equals 5 times 3. Okay. So, and then they both actually have x here as well. So x squared equals x times x, and x just equals 1 times x. So I can take out both of these things. So when I factorise this, I'm going to get 3x here. Okay, now remember, 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. And then I've got a plus here, and then remember, I've taken this 3x out now, so I need to make the 15x. So remember, 3 times 5 gets us 15. X times 1 gets us the x, so we actually don't need to do anything with that. So here we go, we factorise this now to get 3x bracket 2x plus 5. Right, let's have a look at part C. Why am I doing it? Just because I thought so. Right. Okay. Make G... Is it okay? Make G the subject of the formula. So here we go. We've got F equals 3G plus 11. So we need to make G the subject. Currently, F is the subject. So what we've got to do is we've just got to rearrange this. So let me just move that out of the way. So F equals 3G plus 11. Okay, now this is our rearrangement. Now we're kind of like we've been looking at before. So remember, if we combine two things together to make a third thing by adding them, well, that means that that third thing, take away one of the other things, equals the other thing. It's a difficult thing to summarise. But remember, like, if we had 2 plus 3 equals 5, then 5 take away 3 equals 2. This is the same kind of situation that's going on here. So if 3G plus 11 equal F, then F take away 11 will equal 3G. So that's the first part of this. Now the second bit is we need to just, when they want G as the subject, they just want 1G. So this is now like our direct proportion. So what we have is we've got 3G equals F minus 11. So what we want to do is we want to go to 1G, so we've got to divide both sides by 3. Okay, so I divide this by 3, and I divide this by 3. So 3G divided by 3 is just G. F minus 11 divided by 3, well, that's quite tricky. So we just actually write it like this. So F minus 11 at the top, and then over 3, which means divide by 3. So we've got G equals F minus 11 divided by 3. Okay, great. Right, let's try the next one. Okay, here we go. Karen is organising a party for a charity. She spends £100 on food, £120 on a hall, and £80 on a DJ. Karen sells 54 tickets for the party. Each ticket costs £7.50. Work out percentage profit Karen makes for the charity. Okay, right, so let's have a think. Well, first of all, we know, let's find out how much she makes and let's find out how much it costs her. So, first of all, if one ticket equals £54. Oh, no, one ticket doesn't equal £54. If one ticket equals £7.50, we want 54 tickets. Okay, so we're simply multiplying this by 54. So we multiply this by 54 as well. So here we go, let's get the calculator back out, because I don't want to do 750 times 54 in my head. So here we go, we've got £7.50 multiplied by 54, and that equals £405. So that's how much money she makes in ticket sales. Okay, now what we need to do is need to work out how much money she spends. So we've got 100, add 120, add 80. So again, I'm just going to use the calculator because it's the calculator paper. So we've got here 100, add 120, add 80. So that's £300 that she spends. Okay, right, so now what we need to do is we want to work out we need to work out the percentage profit, okay? So first of all, percentage profit is the actual profit over the cost and then times 100. Okay, so this is what we're needing to work out here. So let's work out the actual profit first. So the actual profit is 405, take away the 300. So that's going to be £105. So we've got the actual profit there. And now what we want to do is we want to find out the cost. So the cost, well, we know the cost is 300. Okay, so now let's do the calculation. So we've got £105 out of £300, and then we multiply that by 100 to turn it into the percentage. So let's have a go at that. So I'm going to do this in stages first. I'm going to do 105 divided by 300 first, and then press equals. So that equals 0.35. Now I'm going to multiply this by 100, and that equals 35% profit. Okay, so that's not bad. She's made 35% profit. She can be pretty pleased with her party sales. Right, next one. Okay, right. Andrew invests £4,500 in savings account for 2 years. The account pays compound interest at a rate of 3.4% per year. Calculate how much money Andrew has in his savings account at the end of 2 years. Okay, so this is compound interest. Now for this, we want to use the percentage decimal multiplier equivalent method. So what we're first of all going to do is we're going to first of all think about what percentage of the amount we want each year. So if the account is paying interest of 3.4% each year, at the end of each year, we're going to have the 100% that he started with plus the 3.4% extra, okay? And so if we add those together, that gives us 103.4%. So what we're looking for is we're looking to find 103.4%. So if you want to find 103.4% of something, you can multiply it by its decimal equivalent multiplier. So the equivalent decimal of 103.4% is 103.4 divided by 100. Okay, let's see what that gives us. 103.4 divided by 100. And that equals 1.034. Now, any number multiplied by 1.034 is going to be increased by 3.4%. So we want to do this twice. So essentially what we're going to look to do in our calculator, we're going to do this calculation here, which is going to be 4,500 multiplied by the 1.034 once for year 1, and then we'll do it again for year 2. Okay, so if there was 3 years, we'd do it again. If there's 4 years, we'd do it again, because every single time we multiply by 1.034, we're increasing that amount by 3.4%. Okay, so let's work out what this is. 4,500 times 1.034 for the first year times 1.034 for the second year. Okay, so there we go. So at the end of 2 years, he is going to have £4,811 and 20 pence. Okay, I'm going to leave it as pounds and pence there because it makes sense because it's money. Right, okay, algebra again. Let's have a look. So, okay, right, so 5x take away 14 equals 52 take away x. Okay, right, so what I want you to think about with this is, remember before I was talking about how when we've got something like 2 add 3, that equals 5, okay? So remember, when we've got 2 things added together that equal a third thing, we can have that third thing take away one of the 2 things to equal the other thing, okay? So we've got something like this. So we've got 5 take away 3 equals 2. So in this situation here, I want to think about this as the 5, this is the 2, as the 3 even, and this whole thing as the 2. Okay? Is that helpful? So basically then, that means that what we can either do here is we can think about this 5x, we can say that these 2 things here will add together to give this thing here. So I know that 5x will equal 14 add 52 minus x. Okay, I just put that in brackets there so that we kind of think about that as one thing. So 5x equals 14 plus 52 minus x. Now, the other way of thinking about this is we can think about it as we have just added 14 to both sides. add 14 here, add 14 there. So we've just added 14 to both sides. Now what we can do here is we've got 5x here, so that's gonna, let's expand this, that's gonna be, I can only add the numbers and the numbers together, so if I combine the 14 and the 52, that will give me 64. Okay, so here we go, we've now got 5x equals 64 take away x. So if 5x equals 64 take away x, that means that this x here and this 5x combine to make the 64, okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to do 5x add x equals 64. Right, now 5x and x can be combined because they're the same kind of thing. So actually, this x here is like 1x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these two together. So that's going to give us 6x equals 64. And now this is like direct proportion. We've got 6x equals 64. We want 1x, so we've got to divide both sides by 6. So x equals 64 divided by 6. And let me get the calculator for that, because that's not an easy calculation. Okay. So, 64. Oh, no, it is an easy calculation. Oh my gosh, I went wrong. 66, this is 66, this is 66, this is 66. Oh, that's still not easy. Yes, it is. 66 divided by 6 is 11. I am so sorry for that error. Right, so there we go. So x equals 11. And I'll just show you that 66 divided by 6 equals 11. 66 divided by 6 equals 11. Right, here we go. Let's go on to the next one. Question 26. Okay. Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. Debbie gets £120. Okay. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money that Chris, Debbie and Errol each have is now in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. How much money did Chris give to Errol? Oh my word. Right, okay, let's just start off by working out how much money they all had altogether. So, if the money was in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2, and this is Chris to Debbie to Errol, and it turns out that Debbie is actually getting 120, okay, well, that means that I know that what I can do here is I'm working out how many lots of what we have to do to get from 4 to 120, okay? So what is going on to get from 4 to 120? Well, I know that 4 times something equals 120. So if I reverse this calculation, I get 120 divided by 4 will equal that mystery thing. So let me get the calculator up. So here we go. 120 divided by 4 equals 30. Okay, so basically everyone's getting 30 lots of this ratio. So 3 times 30 would be 90. 4 times 30, 120. 60. Right, so here we go. This is the original amount of money that everyone's getting. Okay, and we can add this all up as well to find out how much money was shared altogether. So let's do that. So 90 add 120 add 60, and that equals 270. So they shared £270. Okay, right. So Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money that Chris and Debbie and Errol each now have is in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. Okay, right. This is useful. Okay, so basically what we're going to do now is we're going to share this money in the new ratio. Okay, so we're sharing it in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. So we've got Chris, Debbie and Errol, and it's 2 to 5 to 3. Okay, I need to know how many parts that is. Okay, so 2 add 5 is 7, so that's 10 parts to this new ratio. So if 10 parts of the ratio equal £270, that means that 1 part equals £27, because I can do 270 divided by, oh, no, one second. I can do 270 divided by 10. And that gives me 27. Okay, so one part is £27. And so now I can work out how much money each of them gets. So Chris gets two lots of that. So times 2. So that will be 57. 54. Oh my gosh. 54. Debbie gets 5 lots of that. So 27 times 5 is 135. And Errol gets 3 lots of that. 27 times 3. 81. So here we go. Now we've got how much money each person's getting. Can we now answer the rest of the question? Right. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. The money Chris, Debbie and Errol now have is 2 to 5 to 3. How much money did Chris give to Errol? Okay, right. So Chris went from having £90 to having £54. Debbie went from having £90 to £15. So that means that Chris gave Debbie... No, Debbie went from having £120 to having £35. So Debbie... So if I do 135 minus 120, that equals 15. So Debbie gained £15 in this whole operation, okay, which means Chris gave Debbie £15. So let's do 90. Let's do 90. Take away 15, and that'll tell us how much money Chris had after he gave some money to Debbie. So here we go. 90. Take away 15 equals £75. So after giving money to Debbie, Chris had... Oh, 1 second. I could have just done this. Oh, I could have done this a much easier way. Right, okay, fine. Anyway, after giving money to Debbie, Chris had £75. And then, so if Chris then ends up with £54, we know that 75 take away 54 will be the rest of the money he gave away. So 75 take away 54 equals 21. So Chris gave £21 to Errol, okay? And that makes sense because what I just noticed here, Errol went from £60 to £81. He was only given money from Chris, so he must have got £21 from Chris. Anyway, but it's nice to double prove your questions. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's more. Okay, right. This feels like a long paper. Right. Question 28. The diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has a radius of 15 centimetres and a height of 43 centimetres. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute. Calculate the number of minutes it takes to completely fill the tank. Give your answer to the nearest minute. So basically, we know that 1 minute equals 0.47 litres. Okay. Or what we can do is we can actually change this around, and we can say that 0.47 litres equals 1 minute. Okay, and then I'm just going to find out how... If I divide both bits by 0.47, I'm going to get how long it takes for 1 litre. So 1 litre equals 1 divided by the 0.47. 1 divided by 0.47. 2.1276 minutes. Okay, right. So this is an important piece of information that we're just going to bank for later. So 1 litre of liquid will take 2.1276 minutes to fill. Okay, right. Another piece of information that you need to know for this question, but you haven't been given it, is that 1 centimetre cubed equals 1 millilitre. Okay, and 1,000 millilitres equals 1 litre. Okay, so therefore 1,000 centimetres cubed equals 1 litre. Okay, right. Okay, that's all that faff. Now what we've got to do is we've just got to find out the volume of the cylinder. So the volume of the cylinder, it's a prism, so it's the area of the circle times the height. I actually think you might get given this formula at the start in the formula book. So anyway, the volume of the cylinder equals pi r squared times the length. Okay, all the units are in centimetres, so that's fine. So this is going to be pi times 15 times 15 times 43. And then we can just type all that into the calculator. Let's do that up here. So pi is, well, actually let's use scientific calculator because we're here. So we've got, is pi here? Yep, pi times 15 times 15 times 43 equals this. Okay, that's centimetres cubed. Okay, now I'm going to, in order to turn this into litres, I'm going to divide it by 1,000. Okay, because if 1,000 centimetres cubed is 1 litre, okay, then I need to divide this by 1,000 to get 1 litre, to get it into litres. Okay, so here we go. So this cylinder is 30.36 litres. Okay, not 30.39 litres. Okay. Right, so now what we need to do is, if we know from our formula before 1 litre equal, oh, 1 second, let me close this. If we now know from up here that 1 litre takes 2.1276 minutes and we've got 30.39 litres, what we need to do is we need to times both of these by the 30.39, and that will tell us how long it takes for 30.39 litres to fill. So we've got to do our, let me get the calculator. Let's go to basic. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do this number. I'm going to leave all that in there because it just keeps it more accurate. Times our 2.1276. And here we go. So that's 64.67 minutes. Okay, and there we go. And that will be our answer. Give your answer to the nearest minute. So 64.67 will be 65 minutes. Okay, right. There we go. Whew, more questions. Right, so here we go. We've got a question 29 here. And it says that ABC is a right angled triangle. And it says calculate the length of AB to 3 significant figures. Right, so this is SOH CAH TOA. So this is our opposite because this is the angle that we've been given. Op. This is the adjacent. This is our angle. So we know we want the one that's using the op and the adjacent. So it's going to be this one here, TOA. So I know that tan 49 equals the opposite, which is what we want, divided by the adjacent. Okay, so the way that I rearrange this, well, I know what the adjacent is. The adjacent is 28, so let me change that. The way that I rearrange this is that basically if you've got 3 things in this sort of arrangement, if you have 2 things multiplied together, so let's say if I've got 3 times 4 equals 12, then 12 over 3 equals 4, and 12 over 4 equals 3. So basically when 2 things multiply to give something, which we often call the product, so this would be the product. In this situation, opposite is in the product situation, So therefore, these two things here will multiply to give the opposite. So we need to do tan 49 multiplied by 28, and that should give us our answer. So let me go back to scientific calculator, and then here we go, I'll put this up here. So I'm going to put brackets around this, tan 49, close bracket, and then times 28. The calculator actually put brackets on for me, so I didn't need to put these additional brackets around the outside. But I just wanted to make sure the 28 and the 49 didn't get mixed up. Okay, so this equals 32.2103, which I can put down here, and then 3 significant figures just means 3 numbers from the start, and then we would round it as appropriate. We don't have to round this one, so this will be 32.2. Okay, right, let's see. Is there another question? Right, okay, let's do this one quickly. So here we go. We've got simultaneous equations here. So essentially what we've got is we've got 3x plus y equals minus 4.5. 4x plus 3y equals negative 3.5. What I need to do is I need to take one of the... So with an equation, this bit here equals this bit here. This bit here equals this bit here. So if you can multiply and you can divide equations by things, and as long as you do everything to the same one, it stays the same. So what I want to do is I want to make my equations have a matching x or y value. So I want to, in this one, I'm going to try and make the y one matching. So I'm going to multiply this equation here. I'm going to multiply it by 3, okay? So 3x times 3 is 9x. Y times 3 is plus 3y. And minus 4.5 times by 3 is... I'm actually going to get the calculator out for this. Basic. Okay, let's do this. 4.5 negative times by 3 is minus 13.5. And then below, I'm going to just write the other one here. 4x plus 3y equals minus 3.5. Now, because basically these things are all equal, or this side equals this side equals this side, I can now take this side away from this top bit, and I can take this side away from this top bit, and essentially I'm actually just, although I'm taking away x's and y's, I am really just taking away 3.5 from both sides. So I'll do the 9x take away the 4x, gives me 5x. Now 3y take away 3y means that the y's disappear. Now I'm going to just do this on the calculator because I don't want to mess up the negatives, and we've got the calculator. So I've got 13.5 negative take away 3.5 negative. And see, they switch it into the plus. Actually, let me do this on the scientific calculator because I really don't want you to mess up this. And they are confusing. So minus 3.5 minus, because I'm taking these away, minus bracket minus 3.5. Okay. So that equals minus 10. So here we go. What I've got now is I have got 5x equals minus 10. Now if I divide both of these by 5, I get x equals, and then again, let's just do the minus 10 divided by 5 on the calculator. Okay. So here we go. We've got minus 10 there, and then just divide that by a regular 5, and that equals minus 2. Right, so we've solved it now for the x. So x equals minus 2. And now what I can do is I can put this back in and find out what it is for the other one. So let's go up here. We've got 3 times minus 2 plus y equals minus 4.5. Okay, 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. Minus 6 plus y equals minus 4.5. So what I can now do is, if I think about this as y minus 6, because I can do that, equals minus 4.5, I can then add the 6 to the other side. So y equals minus 4.5 add 6. So let's just do that here. So 4.5 negative add 6 is 1.5. Here we go. And there we've got our solution to that. 1.5. Okay, right, and there we go. And that is the end of that. Thank you so much for the people that have been watching all the way through. Really appreciate it. I hope it has been useful, and I hope you, I hope this has been useful practice for you. The link to the paper, if you wanted to have another go at it, is in the description. And I've also put links to any lessons that I've got on my channel that match up with the topics in the test. So anyway, good luck, and I am doing another one of these sessions in 2 weeks for paper 3. So hopefully see you there. Okay, cheers, bye.